All right, and howdy everyone. Thank you for checking out Pokerface. This is my auction draft database. My name is Seth. I'm an avid fantasy football fan. I'm also the co-host of Truth and Reconciliation, which is a weekly podcast during the NFL season that belongs to the greatest fantasy football league in the world. My best friend Pete Elwood co-hosts alongside me, and he also serves as the commissioner of our league, which this year we've been at over 10 years now together. And yeah, we make a weekly podcast for the other 10 guys in our league. We have no lives. But in those 10 years, the competition in our league has gotten sharper. It's gotten stronger, as has the demand for better tools and strategies going into the draft each and every season. It is a lot to keep up with, which is why I built Pokerface. It's an attempt to draft better, smarter, and more on the offensive. There are a ton of really good tools out there that you can use to cater your strategies around, good spreadsheets out there, some mastermind gurus that have built some pretty salty things. Unlike many of those tools, though, Pokerface is an Access database. It's not an Excel spreadsheet. This is for several reasons, mostly just because I'm a lot more competent in Access than I am in Excel. And also, I'm a graphic designer, and I care way too much about how pretty things are. I know that my Excel loyalist friends are all gasping right now. They're beautiful in their own way. Sure, guys, sure. It's what's on the inside that counts, right? Access is also a lot faster than Excel at doing things like queries and lookups, and I wanted all my tools to be in one ecosystem. Since there are so many different things going on, I wanted them all under one roof. Access is definitely harder to work with on the front end. It takes a lot more front end investment and setup in the code side, but my goal was to get this tool to a point of user friendliness that you could really just plug and play right into your draft, hopefully giving you the ability to absolutely dominate on day one. Without further ado, let me welcome you to Pokerface. Going to close this out and start from scratch, show you what we're looking at here. The first thing we're going to see when we open it up, it's going to give us a font error, or so it should. Bloop, there we go. We are missing our font. Like I said, I care deeply about how it looks, and so it's going to ask us to install a font. Now, you could skip this if you wanted to. You could just say, no, I'd rather just check it out without installing a font. I don't recommend that at all because I designed the entire database around a single font, which means that the size of all the fields matters, all of the reports, everything inside it is based around this font. So you really need to install it, but it's right here. It's the free version of Bavis. You can do that. Open up your fonts folder after you click here to download the file, save it to your desktop. Once you open up your folder, you can just drag and drop it into Windows. It will install. And there it goes. And from then on out, you just need to reset access. Once that font is in your Windows folder, you won't see the error message anymore. I promise I'm not going to nag you. So here we are at our dashboard. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to check out our league settings. First thing you're going to see is a shameless plug. If you enjoy this tool, if it's helpful for your draft, I have put considerable amount of time in it. I would greatly appreciate you buying me a meal, even a cup of coffee. If you just click here, I'll take you to my website where you can send me some love via PayPal. I sure would appreciate it. Your scoring settings is the first thing to set up. Whether or not you are standard, half-point PPR, or points per reception league. My league is a PPR league right here. And remember, this is an auction draft tool. If you're looking to do a snake draft or a standard, typical fantasy football draft, one, I pity you. Two, this won't work for you. This is strictly an auction draft tool. Next, we have the number of managers in your league. Now, if you have more than 12, you need to let me know. I can easily change this, but I've got the defaults to 12. There's some custom queries in the back end. They're not too difficult to change, but difficult enough that I didn't want to mass produce a 16-man tool. So 12 is how they go. Let me know if you need it changed. Your default value setting. Now this is important. There are two types of values in the back end that it is comparing. You've got your Fantasy Pros values that are imported, and then you have the My Value comparison, which is how you personally value each and every player. This is the default setting for your values. Do you want them to match Fantasy Pros? Do you want to start at 0, or do you want to start at $1? If you start here, they will be the exact same, and you're not going to be totally sure which ones you've changed or updated and which ones you haven't. If you start at 0, you're going to know for sure which ones you have and haven't touched. And if you start at 1, that's where the minimum bid for all of the players are. So you can just pick your choose. I'm going to start right now for Fantasy Pros. And then you need to pop in your owner manager details. This is your fantasy football league. I'm going to put mine in here. Truth and Reconciliation. That's right. My team name is also my podcast name. It's one way to stick it to the rest of my league. I'm going to go ahead and save this, but I'm actually pop back into league settings and show you one more thing. Tutorials and hotkeys. If you get lost in here, you can always come over here. The videos that we're posting are available right here. If your text ever looks weird and something doesn't look quite right, you can get back to the font splash right here. And then there's a couple of useful hotkeys. Control D opens up this dashboard if you ever get lost. And then Control K will come in handy later when you get into doing fast note adding when you're doing all your player research. K for quick notes, sure. All right, so here we are. We've got our management set up. Next thing we're going to do is set up the rest of our managers in the manager dashboard. There we are right there. It's important to remember that you always be number one. Let's go ahead and add another manager. Let's throw in my buddy Pete. He's going to be right here. His team name is famously Raymond. Vessel's Breakfast. Any Fight Club fans out there? Once we save it, we can actually come back in and we can add profile photos. I like to have profile photos because it makes the dashboard quicker and prettier, honestly, and I enjoy being able to see my other league members' photos because I hop around really fast during the draft, and so doing it by photo, there they all are. There's mine. There we go. Truth and Rec, isn't it beautiful? So now that's going to be my profile. Let's go ahead and add Pete's just for kicks and grins. There he is. All right, so that does it for our manager settings and our league settings. I'm going to go ahead and pop the rest of our managers in. In the next video, we'll go over setting up your budget.